Most fuel-saving advice sounds like a scam because most of it is. Buy this magnet, pour this bottle, press this button, then drive like the fuel gauge owes you mercy. Japan's method is different. It does not ask your car to become magic. It asks you to stop wasting fuel before the engine even uses it. I tried it, and the fuel bill dropped so hard I thought the math was wrong. But the strangest part comes at number 1 because the biggest change was not under the hood. Let's start with the most popular secret of all. Number 17. Measure before you change anything. The first part of the Japanese method is the one most drivers skip. Measure your fuel use before you change your driving. That sounds boring, but it changes everything. Most people do not actually know what their car uses. They know fuel feels expensive. They know the gauge seems to move too quickly. That is not measurement. The Japanese eco-drive mindset starts with awareness. Know your distance, know your fuel, know your route, know whether the same drive is getting better or worse. If you do not track it, you will blame the wrong thing. You will blame the fuel station when the real problem is traffic. You will blame the car when the real problem is your right foot. You will blame the engine when the tires are low. Use the trip computer, a fuel app, or simple math at the pump. Fill the tank, reset the trip, drive normally, then calculate what the car really used. Do it again after changing your habits. Once the numbers expose the waste, the next step is the Japanese trick that starts before the car is even moving fast. Number 16. Use Fuwari acceleration. The Japanese call it gentle start or Fuwari acceleration. That word matters because it does not mean slow like you are afraid of the car. It means soft, smooth, and deliberate. Most fuel is wasted when the car is getting heavy metal moving from a stop. That is where impatient drivers destroy their fuel economy without noticing. They stab the throttle, surge forward, brake again, and repeat the same mistake at the next junction. Fuwari acceleration changes that. You press the pedal as if there is a cup of tea under your shoe. The car moves cleanly. The engine does not shout. The gearbox does not panic. The fuel does not get dumped in just to move you 2 car lengths faster. The target is not crawling. It is controlled movement. In Japan's eco-drive guidance, a gentle start is one of the headline habits because the first few seconds matter. Start smoothly, build speed calmly, and let the car settle into motion instead of launching every time the light turns green. That is the strange part. You feel clean, and clean starts are cheaper. If you have ever raced away from a green light just to meet the same car again at the next red light, hit the like button now, because the next habit is where Japan saves fuel by doing almost nothing. Number 15. Leave space. So you stop braking for no reason. Most drivers think braking is free. It is not. Every time you brake, you are throwing away fuel you already paid for. The engine used fuel to build speed, and then your brake pads turned that speed into heat. Japanese eco-driving puts a lot of attention on keeping enough distance from the car ahead, not because it looks polite, but because it stops the useless cycle of accelerate, brake, accelerate, brake. When you follow too closely, the driver in front controls your fuel bill. They tap the brake, you brake. They speed up, you chase. They slow down, you waste more energy. Your car never gets a steady rhythm. Leave more space and everything changes. You can lift off earlier. You can roll instead of panic. You can keep speed steady while the car ahead keeps making small mistakes. You stop being dragged into their bad driving. This does not mean leaving a ridiculous gap for everyone to steal. It means giving yourself enough room to read traffic instead of reacting like a nervous passenger. The car becomes calmer, the engine works less, the brakes last longer, the tires suffer less, and the drive feels less exhausting. Once you stop braking for no reason, the next habit teaches you how to slow down without wasting the fuel you already used. Number 14. Lift off early. This was the habit that annoyed me at first. Lift off early. You see a red light ahead, a queue, a roundabout, a speed bump, or a slower truck. Instead of staying on the accelerator until the last second, you come off the pedal early and let the car roll. That is it. It works because your engine can use almost no fuel during deceleration in many modern cars when your foot is off the accelerator and the car is in gear. You are still moving, but you are not feeding the engine the same way. Most drivers do the opposite. They keep pressing the accelerator even though the stop is already obvious. Then they brake hard at the end and waste everything they just burned. That is emotional driving. The car is going nowhere faster, but the driver feels busy. The Japanese method is calmer. It rewards the person who sees the stop before the stop arrives. Lift early, roll longer, brake lighter. The hard part is ego. Lifting early feels like surrender when another driver is still accelerating beside you. But if both of you stop at the same light, only one of you paid extra to get there. That tiny moment is where the fuel saving hides. Now that you are not wasting fuel into obvious stops, the next habit attacks the biggest fuel thief many drivers create before leaving the driveway. Number 13. Stop leaving. Tama starting farther when late. This one sounds like life advice, but it is fuel advice. Stop leaving late. A late driver is an expensive driver. When you are late, every normal road situation feels like an attack. A slow car becomes personal. A red light feels unfair. A truck feels like an enemy. You accelerate harder, brake later, change lanes more, and sit closer to other drivers. That is not efficiency. That is stress with the steering wheel. Japanese eco-driving connects fuel saving with calm driving and having time to spare. That sounds soft until you try it. Leaving 5 or 10 minutes earlier can reduce the need to rush, and rushing is one of the fastest ways to burn extra fuel without gaining much time. A calm driver plans ahead. A late driver reacts. When you leave late, you stop choosing the smart route and start choosing the route that feels heroic. You chase shortcuts, you get stuck behind school traffic, you miss the window before congestion builds. This was one of the reasons my fuel costs dropped so much. The method was not only pedal control, it was removing the situations that made bad pedal control feel necessary. No fuel-saving trick survives panic. Leave earlier, and the car suddenly gets easier to drive economically. The next habit is where many drivers burn fuel while going absolutely nowhere. Number 12. Stop useless. Idling. Idling feels harmless because the car is not moving. That is the trick. The fuel is still burning. Sitting in a parked car with the engine running is one of the easiest ways to waste fuel because there is no distance gained. The car is using fuel to make noise, cold air, and exhaust, while the odometer sits there doing nothing. Japan's eco-drive recommendations warn against unnecessary idling for a reason. Waiting for someone, loading items, sitting outside a shop, or scrolling on your phone can quietly eat fuel over the week. This does not mean switching the engine off in unsafe situations. Do not manually shut off the engine in traffic if it creates a safety problem, affects steering or braking assistance, or risks delayed movement. Cars with proper automatic stop-start systems are designed for that. The useful rule is simpler. When you are parked and genuinely waiting, stop making the engine work for nothing. Modern cars usually do not need a long warm-up ceremony in normal weather. Start the car, let it settle briefly, then drive gently while it warms up. That warms the whole vehicle better than sitting still and pretending everything is ready. Useless idling is sneaky because it feels comfortable. Comfort is not free. No single idle moment looked expensive. Together, they were. The next habit is not about your foot at all. It is about the round black parts quietly deciding how hard the engine has to work. Number 11. Fix tire. Pressure. First, low tire pressure is like asking your car to jog in soft shoes. The engine can still move the car, but it has to work harder. The tires flex more, rolling resistance increases, steering feels heavier. The car may feel dull, and fuel economy quietly suffers. Japan's eco-drive advice treats tire pressure as a basic part of fuel saving, not as a garage detail you remember twice a year. Many drivers only check tires when one looks visibly low. By then, it may have been wasting fuel for weeks. A tire can be underinflated without looking flat, especially on modern tires with stiff sidewalls. Use the pressure label on the driver's door area, fuel flap, or owner's manual. Check when the tires are cold. Adjust for load if the manufacturer gives loaded pressures. Do not use the maximum pressure printed on the sidewall as your normal target. The right pressure helps the car roll easier. It also helps braking, tire wear, and steering feel. This is why the Japanese method feels practical. It is not pretending your tire pressure will magically cut the bill in half by itself. It is stacking small savings that stop the car wasting energy from every direction. Low tires waste fuel every second they roll. Fix them and every drive starts with less resistance. The next habit removes the weight your engine has been dragging around for no reason. Number 10. Empty the car. Your boot might be charging you rent. Most drivers carry things they forgot they owned. Tools they do not use. Sports gear, old bottles, baby items, work equipment, boxes, shoes. Random weight becomes part of the car, and the engine pays for it every time you move. Japan's eco-drive guidance is blunt about unnecessary load. Extra weight hurts fuel economy because the car needs more energy to accelerate and climb. The trick is not to remove useful safety gear. Keep what matters. Keep the spare if your car has one. Keep emergency items that make sense. But stop carrying dead weight. This works especially well in city driving because stop-and-go traffic keeps asking the engine to move the same weight again and again. On the highway, weight matters less than air resistance, but it still matters on hills and during acceleration. When I emptied the car, the improvement was not dramatic by itself. The car just felt less heavy. Combined with smoother starts and better tire pressure, it became part of the bigger drop. That is the Japanese method. It does not depend on one miracle. It removes every small waste until the fuel bill has nowhere to hide. The next habit attacks the invisible wall your car pushes through at speed. Number 9. Remove. Drag. You forgot about air looks harmless until your car has to push through it. At higher speeds, aerodynamic drag becomes a serious fuel thief. Roof boxes, roof racks, bike carriers, open windows, loose panels, and useless exterior attachments can make the car work harder than necessary. Many drivers remove weight from the boot and then leave a roof rack on for 6 months. That is backwards. A roof box can be useful on a trip, but when the trip is over, it becomes a fuel bill sitting on the roof. Even an empty carrier can add drag and wind noise. The engine has to keep pushing that shape through the air every mile. This is one reason highway fuel economy can disappoint people. The car is not only moving forward, it is fighting the junk attached to it. Remove the roof box. Take off the bike rack when you're not using it. Fix loose under trays and hanging splash shields. Keep windows closed at higher speeds when the air noise becomes obvious. This is not about making your daily car look like a race car. It is about not making it worse. The quietest fuel savings are often the ones you remove, not the ones you buy. Once the car is lighter and cleaner through the air, the next habit deals with the comfort system that can quietly punish your fuel economy. Number 8. Use the air conditioner. Like a tool, the air conditioner is not evil, but using it without thinking can waste fuel. In Japanese eco-drive advice, the air conditioner gets attention because cooling and dehumidifying require energy. That energy has to come from somewhere. On a petrol car, it comes from fuel. The mistake is not using air conditioning. The mistake is using it lazily. If the cabin is boiling hot, open the windows briefly before switching on strong cooling. Let the trapped heat escape, then close the windows and let the system work. If you only need heat in cooler weather, you may not need the air conditioner compressor running unless you need demisting. Do not freeze the cabin just to prove the system works. Set a comfortable temperature and let it maintain. In some cars, automatic climate control can manage this better than constant button fighting. The goal is comfort without waste. The next habit is the point where the method stops feeling like random tips and starts feeling like a system. Number 7. Drive at a steady speed. Steady speed is where fuel saving becomes visible. Acceleration uses energy. Braking throws energy away. Accelerating again uses more energy. If you repeat that pattern all day, the fuel tank suffers. Japanese eco-driving encourages fewer speed changes because the car is most efficient when it is not constantly being pushed and corrected. This is why traffic rhythm matters. A driver who rushes into every gap may feel faster, but the car is working harder. A driver who holds a steadier pace often arrives at nearly the same time with less fuel used and less stress. On the highway, steady speed matters even more. The faster you go, the more air resistance rises. That does not mean crawling in a dangerous way. It means choosing a sensible speed and holding it instead of surging, braking, and surging again. Cruise control can help on open roads, but it is not magic. On hills, some systems may downshift aggressively or fight to hold exact speed. A human driver who reads the road can sometimes do better. In town, steady speed comes from looking farther ahead. Watch traffic lights, crossings, buses, and brake lights early. Do not drive only from the bumper in front of you. Hit the subscribe button if you think most drivers waste fuel by fighting traffic instead of reading it, because the next habits are where the Japanese method starts cutting fuel before the route even begins. Number 6. Plan the route before the drive. Getting lost is expensive, so is choosing the route that looks short but moves badly. Japan's eco-drive guidance includes avoiding congestion and checking route information before leaving. That sounds obvious, but many drivers still treat route planning like something only nervous people do. The fuel tank disagrees. A wrong turn, 10 minutes of extra driving, a traffic jam you could have avoided, or a route full of lights and hills can change the fuel cost of a trip. The shortest route is not always the cheapest route. The fastest route is not always the smoothest route. Before driving, check traffic. Look at the route, avoid known jams when possible. Combine stops in an order that makes sense. Do not cross town twice because you refused to think for 30 seconds. I was not only driving differently, I was driving fewer wasted miles. People love to talk about fuel economy as if it only happens under the hood, but a bad route can ruin good driving. A late start can ruin a good route. A missed turn can waste the fuel you carefully saved. The Japanese method works because it respects the whole journey, not just the accelerator. The next habit is where many short trip drivers lose money before the engine even gets warm. Number 5. Combine trips. Cold starts are expensive. A cold engine uses more fuel. Fluids are thicker. The system is still warming. Short trips often end right when the car finally becomes efficient. That is why combining trips matters. Instead of making 3 separate drives, combine errands into one loop. Go to the shop, fuel station, pharmacy, and school pickup in a sensible order. Let one warmed-up car handle several jobs instead of forcing the engine to restart cold again and again. This is not always possible, life is messy, but when it is possible, the savings are real. Short trips are brutal because they feel harmless. 2 miles here, 3 miles there, a quick run down the road. But the car keeps repeating its least efficient stage. The Japanese method is not only how you drive, it is when and why you drive. Sometimes the cheapest fuel-saving trick is not making the trip. Walk when it makes sense. Combine errands. Avoid pointless loops. Do not start the car for things that could wait 30 minutes and be done together. This is where cutting fuel costs can become dramatic. Not because one trip changes everything, but because the week changes. The next habit keeps the engine from wasting fuel because maintenance was ignored. Number 4. Maintain the parts that affect fuel. A dirty car can be thirsty, not dirty paint, dirty maintenance. Old engine oil, clogged air filters, worn spark plugs, dragging brakes, bad alignment, weak sensors, and neglected fluids can all make a car use more fuel than it should. Japan's eco-drive advice includes inspection and maintenance because driving style cannot save a car that is fighting itself. This is where many drivers get fooled. They try to drive gently while the car is wasting fuel through a mechanical problem. A clogged air filter can restrict breathing. Bad spark plugs can weaken combustion. Low tire pressure increases rolling resistance. Dragging brakes make the engine push against friction. Old oil can increase internal resistance. Poor alignment can scrub energy away through the tires. No eco-driving method can fully overcome neglect. The first step is simple. Follow the maintenance schedule, use the correct oil. Replace filters when due. Check tire pressure. Service brakes before they drag. Fix warning lights instead of covering them with hope. This is not exciting, but it is powerful. A well-maintained car responds better to every habit on this list. The method cut costs because it treated fuel economy as a system. Driving is one part, maintenance is the other. The next habit forces you to stop using the brake pedal as a correction for poor planning. Number 3, treat the brake pedal like a fuel receipt. This is the mindset that changed everything for me. Every unnecessary brake is a fuel receipt. The engine burned fuel to create speed. Then the brake turned that speed into heat. If the braking was necessary, fine. Safety comes first, but if the braking happened because you rushed into traffic, followed too closely, missed the light pattern, or accelerated toward a stop, that fuel was wasted. This is the heart of the Japanese method. Smooth starts matter. Steady speed matters. Early liftoff matters. Distance matters. But they all point to the same idea. Stop creating speed you already know you will throw away. Once you see braking this way, your driving changes. You stop racing to red lights. You stop chasing bumpers. You stop accelerating into cues. You stop treating every gap like a prize. You start reading the road earlier, because every smooth roll feels like money staying in your pocket. This does not mean avoiding brakes when you need them. Brake early when safety requires it. Brake firmly if danger appears. The method is not about being stubborn. It is about not creating unnecessary emergencies. The brake pedal is not the enemy. Bad planning is. When this habit clicks, the car feels different. You are no longer reacting. You are managing energy. That is why the Japanese method feels smarter than normal fuel advice. It teaches you to protect momentum before it needs saving. The next habit turns that idea into the simplest rule in the whole method. Number 2, drive like momentum is money. Momentum is not just motion. It is fuel you already bought. When the car is rolling, it has energy. If you waste that energy, you pay again to rebuild it. If you protect it, the car travels farther with less work. This is why the Japanese method feels almost unfair once you understand it. You start choosing smoother lanes. You stop crowding traffic. You lift earlier. You avoid pointless stops. You time lights better. You coast in gear when appropriate. You stop driving like the accelerator and brake are enemies fighting for attention. Momentum driving is not slow. It is clean. The best drivers are often the ones who look boring from the outside. They are not lunging forward, stabbing the brakes, and correcting every mistake. They are making fewer mistakes in the first place. This is also safer. A driver protecting momentum usually looks farther ahead. That means more time to react, fewer surprises, and less emotional driving. That leads to number 1, the habit that holds the entire method together and explains why most people never stick with it. Number 1, make fuel economy a game. The Japanese method works because it turns fuel saving into feedback. That is the habit nobody talks about enough. You watch the fuel economy. You notice which route hurts. You notice which start was too aggressive. You notice how much traffic ruins the number. You notice how tire pressure, idling, air conditioning, and extra weight change the result. Then you adjust. Most drivers fill the tank and complain. The Japanese method makes the driver participate. That is why number 1 is making fuel economy a game. Not an obsession, not dangerous driving, not annoying everyone behind you. A game. Can you get through the route with fewer unnecessary brakes? Can you leave early enough to avoid rushing? Can you keep the car rolling smoothly? Can you beat last week's average without driving dangerously? Can you predict the light instead of reacting to it? Can you finish the drive calmer than you started? Once you play that game, saving fuel stops feeling like punishment. It becomes satisfying. This is why no one talks about the method enough. It does not sell parts. It does not make loud promises. It does not give you a gadget to unbox. It asks the driver to become smoother, calmer, earlier, lighter, and more aware. That is not flashy, but it works. Together, the habits change the cost of driving. That is the real Japanese method. Not driving slowly, driving without waste. Drop a comment with the one fuel-saving habit you think most drivers refuse to try. Click the video on the left if you want to see the Japanese car habits that make engines last longer. If you want simple car advice that saves money, hit subscribe. I will see you in the next one.